luôn mà. Ông lên đây giết heo, giết gà phải không? Ông không hiểu.
Trời ơi, bà chết rồi. Bà chết rồi, trời ơi.
Tell him. He starts talking, or I'm going to waste more of them. Tell him, Leonard!
Người đi vùng không thống trị khai cái đạo.
Tôi không đi.
Người đi.
Tôi không đi.
Người đi.
A scene from Platoon.
Yeah. I don't get it. I mean, we've trashed Vietnam, completely. We didn't even recognize it for so many years after the war. We did the same thing to Iraq. I wouldn't want to live in Iraq. I mean, they call it democracy. That's not democracy. It's the same thing over and over. Why? Why does... I see all the... I don't watch TV as much as a lot of people, but what I see is people all get on the air. They talk about our discretionary spending. They talk about the Tea Party people. They talk about education, cutting this. I don't get it. Why, if the majority of our discretionary spending is Pentagon, it's like $1 trillion with the shadow budget in there. $1 trillion a year. That's most of the discretionary spending of this country. Why is it going to war? Why, if we're in such bad shape, why are we not taking care of ourselves? Why is Obama embracing this? And why is Clinton down in Latin America when I'm there trying to separate these countries? And we're still doing the same thing. We're trying to divide one country from the other. She goes to Bolivia, or she goes to Ecuador, she goes to Argentina. She tries to separate them. She's trying to pull Brazil away from Venezuela. It doesn't work. They're together in this. This is the first time, I repeat, Amy, the first time in our lifetime that I've seen so many countries in Latin America together, with the exception of Peru and Colombia.
And we're going to talk about Colombia in a minute, but Juan?
Well, on this issue of war, and of course the statement that President Bush made, which to me was startling, is in essence, when our government goes to war, not only does it spend huge amounts of money that it turns over to the contractors who assist the war, but also technological development always increases sharply, sponsored by the government, and then after the war, these same companies then use the new technological development to open up new arenas of business. So in that sense, I think Bush was talking about how war forces the productive forces ahead and allows capitalism to continue to exploit.
It's a hard way to die.
Sorry?
Well, no, that he was very honest. The thing is that Bush used to spell it out straight, which is why people didn't like him that much, because he just said it. I mean, often what he said was true from his point of view. And from the point of view of the corporations. He didn't wear a mask. He didn't use emollient words, which is what happens now. But the other thing I was thinking as we were just seeing that clip from Platoon is, why isn't there a movie like that about Iraq now? I mean, quite a lot of the movies we're seeing, the Iraqis don't appear, and yet we know what has been done to Iraq. 1 million have died. 1 million Iraqis have died since the occupation, but we don't really get a glimpse of them. So the enemy is dehumanized, or that they are all Muslims, and so it doesn't matter if we kill them. After all, they did 9/11. And all this rubbish that goes on endlessly to misinform the public. That's what we're seeing.
Before you leave, Oliver Stone, I wanted to ask you about the sequel you've made to your hit, Wall Street. It's called Wall Street 2, Money Never Sleeps. This is a famous clip from the original Wall Street, featuring Michael Douglas as Gordon Gekko.
The point is, ladies and gentlemen, that greed, for lack of a better word, is good. Greed is right. Greed works. Greed clarifies, cuts through, and captures the essence of the evolutionary spirit. Greed in all of its forms. Greed for life, for money, for love, knowledge, has marked the upward surge of mankind, and greed, you mark my words, will not only save Teldar paper, but that other malfunctioning corporation called the USA. Thank you very much.
So, is Gordon Gekko making another appearance? Gekko.
The film is, a visit to another planet. It's 23 years later. The Wall Street has become worse. We know that. I mean, millions of dollars have become billions of dollars. The currency is now completely inflated, and the values are the same, and the bank. But the big difference is the banks are doing it now, and I mean it's not the hedge funds, it's the banks, and they overloaded, and we all overloaded. But the banks led the charge, and the government allowed it to happen, and we know the story. I don't want to go there. The movie is a movie, and it's fun, and it's got five people in it who are. It's a triangle essentially between Gordon and his daughter Carey Mulligan, and her fiancé Shia LaBeouf, and Josh Brolin and Frank Langella play mentors to Shia LaBeouf. It's a fun movie, but you know, and in that transaction you come to this. For me, what's the essential question? What is your life about? Is it going to be about money, or is it going to be about love? Is it going to be about family values and things that matter, human values, or is it about money? It's like South America. It's the same thing. And the Wall Street crowd, I mean, the big guys they're part of the IMF, International Monetary Fund. They're part of the whole deal, which is make loans to people, get them on the hook, get them in. They're drug addicts. Keep them to be drug addicts. Keep people stupid, and make money. Nothing has changed since my father's day, and he started in the 1930s.
And what did he do?
He was a broker.
So Wall Street, you thought, was a warning to people,
yeah,
and yet you attracted people to Wall Street.
It was a melodrama about financial movies, which had not been made in this country. As he said, why don't they make a movie about Iraq? They were not making any movies about financial situation. Now they have it wall to wall on TV. I'm glad, but it's not really dealing with the fundamental issues. It's about the surface. Who's making money, who isn't, right? Who's a big star, who isn't? All these CEOs make magazine covers. I think that's pretty vile, considering that in the old days when I grew up, if you had a lot of money, like John Rockefeller, you kind of like hid. You know, you always try to stay low key. But now it's gotten insane. There's a scene in the movie where 1,000 billionaires are listed. 1,000 billionaires. Can you imagine that? You grew up when there were 4 or 5 billionaires in the world. It's unfortunate. But it ties into the whole thing. It's organic. Latin America comes from Wall Street, too. Wall Street, you know, you could say, I'm sure Tariq can make a better argument, runs the world. Wall Street, the pharmaceutical lobbies, the oil lobbies, they run our government. We should consider, in the wake of this spill, perhaps doing something about nationalizing our own government and trying to get the profits back to the people, because Latin America has shown us that they care about the people more than the profits. And they've done well with the people. We haven't.
And through all of these films now that you've made over decades, the overriding message that ties them together in terms of what your artistic vision is?
I believe in movies have to be fun. You got to go and have if you can take the JFK story and make it exciting, I mean, that may be not, that's good. I mean, it makes people interested. A new generation looks at it. Wall Street's the same thing. It makes them interested in what's going on in the world. That's all I can do. Documentaries is another form of filmmaking.
$5 million question on JFK today. Your thoughts on his assassination?
Listen, I think JFK is a much maligned president, but I think he really changed in 1963. I stick to the. And by the way, James Douglas is a new book. McGeorge Bunty came out recently. Gordon Goldstein, I believe is the name, wrote the wonderful book about Bundy. He said I was all wrong. Kennedy wanted to pull out. He confirms what McNamara said. In '63, Kennedy wanted out of Vietnam. He wanted to make a deal with Cuba, with Castro, and he certainly, the most important thing was he had a détente going with Khrushchev. All these things ended when he was shot. And Johnson, whatever they say, went the other way completely, 180 degrees.
And who you think killed him?
The motive is in that answer.
Well, I want to thank you very much for being with us, Oliver Stone. Tariq, you're going to stay with us.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Juan, for having me.
Thank you so much, and good luck with South of the Border. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org.